I'm Miriam Joy, and welcome to my outside studio. I've got my wonderful cameraman here giving me a hard time. He does a great job though, seriously. So thank you for joining me today. Today we're going to talk about how to varnish a gourd. And remember, this is just how I do it, and I'm going to show you some different varnishes and we're going to talk about that. But don't be afraid to use what you have at home. The one thing I would always do is test it on the bottom of your gourd. They're continuously changing our products on us, and I'm continuously testing new ones that I might like better, so I try to update you when I can. One of the first things we're going to do is we're going to remove any embellishments. You do not put your embellishments on until after you have varnished your piece. Now, I always get asked which type of varnish I like to use, and I always kind of reply, when I am teaching, I will only use Krylon gloss, and one of the main reasons is due to humidity. I am very try to be careful about that because I don't want their project to turn white on me, so, or them to be upset and not have a perfect gourd when they leave class. So I like to use the gloss when I am teaching. Now there is different ones like the satin and the flat, and you just have to be careful with those. You want to make sure that it's a very dry day when you use those because they can turn white on you, kind of milky looking. If that should happen to you, please just put those away, let them dry, and then go back when it is a drier day and do it again, and that usually will take that out of there so that you haven't ruined it. And don't put it, if you're using my process anyway, don't put it in the oven to try and warm it up. Remember, this is wax. And you always want to spray your piece. If you were going to take it to your friend or anything, make sure you varnish it first because it really does affect how the wax is affected by the heat. I've had people that I haven't realized have left class and they haven't varnished it, and we're going to go home and fix it, and they left it in their car and it got really warm, and because they hadn't varnished it, it did melt on them, so we want to make sure that we do that. Now, I also like to use Krylon clear or triple thick glaze. Now this is a glaze, not a varnish. I use this on a lot of my pieces because they get you don't want it to be too windy, and we kind of have gusts coming and going, so hopefully that'll be fine. But the reason is it does get handled a whole lot more, so if you're going to have it be touched or handled more, I would prefer the triple thick. And if you have one that is heat set, or like if it's a leather dye or something, you want to make sure that it's set, you could actually put one of the varnishes over it, and you could do the brush on triple thick by Deco Art. I do that with my Christmas ornaments, and I try to make sure that my ink dye, which I prefer alcohol inks, are set before I put a brush on. You also could use a polyurethane brush on, but again, make sure your inks are set, that they're not going to come back over, because if you used a leather dye and brush that over the top of it, that color is going to come back over your top of your crayon, and you're not going to like that. So there's a lot of different ways that you can varnish, or different types of techniques that you can use. Now, when I varnish, I really realize that a lot of people sit here in circle and they really don't know how to varnish. So I'm going to kind of give you a quick lesson, at least how I do it. First thing I always do is do the bottom. And as you can see, I'm holding up about 12 inches. Now I'm using a little bit more today because it's a little bit more windy. A student of mine once quoted, and I think it's a great quote, there's a fine line between a nice varnish and one that runs on you. And I know people are always scared of runs. One of the first things you want to do is not get too close. That will create runs, and you don't want to go too slow. But with this process, you want a pretty heavy coat of varnish on. And what I do is I start with my design, and I do a straight line back and forth. And the varnishing always brings out your color, so you always want to bring that color. And then I come back over this a second time my design. And then I set this on my dry board and let this dry in between coats, and I would do at least 2 to 3 coats. The more coats you're going to put on it, the more protected it's going to be. So that's kind of a personal opinion as well. When I was a toll painter, I knew some toll painting people that put up to 15 to 30 coats of a project that they wanted to have around for a long time. Now, the nice thing about the Krylon is these are supposed to dry in about 10 minutes, and as long as they're not tacky, you can go back and do it again. It's already dry. So this one wasn't quite as dry as it should have been, but I'm going to go ahead and put the second coat on it and let that one dry. And I have used the Krylon gloss first and came back over with a Krylon glaze even later when I wanted to do it. Or you could even come back and just do your design area a little bit more. Now on this project, you also want to make sure that you're getting the rim, our wonderful nature here. Got little thing sticking to my board. You want to make sure if you have a flat one that you come up and you get the rim as well. But you can kind of see how I just kind of moved that. You want to adjust to your weather conditions, but I just kind of moved that at a nice speed. And you do want a little bit of a shine on it as well. I do use rubber gloves. If you weren't going to use rubber gloves, make sure you take your bracelet off, and also I really recommend taking your wedding ring off. Mine is so full of varnish, it's not even funny. You might not necessarily need it on your right hand, but I would definitely use one on your left hand. And also, if you're going to do a lot of this, I recommend using a mask as well, especially if you have any breathing issues. I usually do use a mask when I'm varnishing at home. For you winter folks that can't really do a lot of spray varnishing in the winter, there is some little tiny plastic tents out there where you can open the flap and spray inside, so you can do it in your house where it's warm, so you can continue to varnish even in the winter time. I've seen them in kids' tents that are like that, as well as greenhouse tents, so you do have that option, because I hear so many of you say that you can't varnish at home, and that's something that I want to add to my class supplies as well. I think that's just a great idea. So if you have any questions about this process, please email me at art@miriamjoy.com. Also, you can visit my website. Excuse me, I messed that up. My website is miriamjoy.com. My email is art@miriamjoy.com. On my website there is a YouTube link which gets you to more of these fun videos, and also the Facebook link, and you don't have to be a member of Facebook, just jump on over there, and I try to post a new picture every day. We have a lot of contests going on and fun things like that, just to give you something fresh to start out with and inspire you. So thank you for joining me today, and God bless.